welcome to another First Five. Today we find ourselves in Mark chapter 3. And in Mark chapter 3, there's this little story in which Jesus does something that he does over and over again, and he changes the way that we understand our relationship with God. Specifically, he changes the way that the religious leaders would have operated as they were trying to be on the right side of the law. There are many situations in Scripture where the law stopped Jesus, or would have stopped Jesus, from doing something he believed was right. And this is another story in which we find that to be true. And I think us in this church today can learn a lot from the way that Jesus interacted with God and with the law, rather than the way that the religious leaders do. So in Mark chapter 3, starting in verse 1, it says, "Another time he went into the synagogue, and a man with a shriveled hand was there. Some of them were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus, so they watched him closely to see if he would heal him on the Sabbath. Jesus said to the man with the shriveled hand, 'Stand up in front of everyone.' Then Jesus asked them, 'Which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save life or to kill?' But they remained silent. He looked around at them in anger and, deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts, said to the man, 'Stretch out your hand.' He stretched it out, and his hand was completely restored. And the Pharisees went out and began to plot with the Herodians how they might kill Jesus." There's a lot that goes on in this 6 verses here, but primarily what happens is the Pharisees are looking for a way to trap Jesus. And they know that if he continues to break religious law, they'll have a reason to kill him. And they're looking for a way to get rid of Jesus because Jesus essentially is a threat to them. He's gaining a following, he's teaching things that they don't agree with, and he looks like a threat. And so in this moment, I love the question that Jesus asks, because he's in a moment where he can heal a man whose hand is crippled. And he can heal this man of his problem. And so what we get is Jesus looks at the Pharisees knowing that they're watching him. And he asks them what I consider a no-brainer question. Let's read it again. It says, "What is lawful on the Sabbath? To do good or to do evil? To save life or to kill?" If you don't already know this, the Sabbath is the day of rest in Jewish custom. So it's a day you would do no work. And so Jesus asks them, though, what sounds like a no-brainer. On the Sabbath, would you rather me do good or evil? Would you rather me save a life or kill someone? And the Pharisees' response makes him so mad because they stay silent. And I think Jesus knows what we know when we read the story is that the Pharisees know they've lost. They know that they're trapped. They know that their way doesn't make sense in this situation. Because by the law, you would have not done any work on the Sabbath. You'd have waited to heal him the next day if you had that ability. You wouldn't have performed a miracle this day because you were resting. And Jesus knew this. But Jesus instead says, our goal is to do good and to love others. This is the thing that Jesus knows. And so as he is interacting with the Pharisees, he catches them in this question. And since they don't answer, he just heals the man, and they go out and they begin to plot how to kill Jesus. They're so attached to their law that they're frustrated when Jesus calls them out on it, even if it's indirect. And I think often we in the church do the same thing. We do this thing where our traditions or our way of living or the way we operate within the church or the way we understand things to be will step in the way of us loving others. And I think sometimes Jesus looks at us and says, what is your role right now? To do good or to do evil? And sometimes if we live the way that we think we're supposed to based upon rules or regulations or tradition or whatever guides your worldview, sometimes we end up doing evil just because we refuse to do the good. And I don't know exactly what that looks like in your life. But maybe that is you're too busy keeping your schedule so that you can't go out of your way to give somebody the help that they need because it doesn't work in your time frame, or a number of other things. Does your way of living, does your way of understanding your relationship with God actually step in the way of loving others? Because if it does, I'm here today to argue that Jesus tells us that we're not really following God if that's how we believe the relationship works. So take this day to look into the way that you follow God. Is it always pointing you to loving other people and to loving God? Because if it's not, that's not the way that God calls us to live. And we need to reevaluate the way that we view our relationship with him and our relationship to the thing he calls us to do. So go through this day, loving other people, and make that your priority. And if you do that, you will be on the right side of God, and you will be following according to his plan. So go this day to love other people. And we'll see you later for another First Five.